Welcome, everyone. We're talking about UFOs today, and the story is about a guy called Frederick Valentich who went missing on a flight from Melbourne Airport across the Bass Strait, which is known as Australia's Bermuda Triangle, and he was flying to an island there, and he reported seeing an unidentified aircraft. He called the air traffic control and said, "Oh, is there a military aircraft out here? It seems to be moving very fast. I don't know what's going on." And they're like, "Nah, nothing's there." I'm paraphrasing. And official air traffic control speak, "Yeah, no, it's fine, mate. Take off, Gary."
No, keep going. My car wouldn't fuck around. Keep going.
Yeah, and then he saw it had a green light, and then he said it was above him, and he said it's not an aircraft, and that's the last transmission. And then the aircraft went missing. They never found any of the wreckage. And that has led some people to believe it was a UFO abduction. So here today, I've abducted some people to help me on this podcast. Comedian Peter James.
Hello.
Cara Robertson.
G'day.
And a classic favourite, Shayne Smyth. So
it does feel like we were also going to go missing. I have to let you know that it does have a similar sort of. I'd like to let the transmission know that there's a strange man sitting across the table.
Air traffic. This isn't a podcast. That's the last thing I ever said. And my notes say, ask comedians if they're believers in UFOs. So what do you guys think about UFOs and aliens and stuff?
Okay, what do you think?
We all know I have a science background.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
You're so full of surprises,
No, but
babe.
everyone listening, I assume, just knows that from hearing my voice. I don't believe many of the abduction stories. However, I don't think we can ever discount. I like to think all possibilities of things. So that would make me almost agnostic, but yes, I would think there were aliens. Doesn't mean I believe in UFOs, but aliens existing in the universe somewhere.
Yep, that's a fairly measured approach.
Yep.
And what about you, Shayne? What do you reckon?
I wasn't sure, but then I went over to your place when we were researching this.
I talked to you for 10 seconds and I'm convinced aliens are real.
And you got that, he got that look in his eye that he used to get when he was obsessed with anarchism and how the Jews ran the banks, and he'd look at me very seriously. And it was like this, and I hadn't seen that look for a number of years. And then I was like, I don't know if UFOs are real. And then he's like, they are real, Shayne. They are. And I was like, are you being ironic? Because you got that look in your eye again. And then he was like, I'll show you they're real. And then he just YouTubed most real UFO stories. And then, and I was like, I'm convinced. And then he was like, look, a current affair did a story on it.
Oh, what's...
I'm not crazy.
Things that exist, Herns and aliens. And bad neighbours.
Look, I never thought the Jews controlled the banks.
You did.
And I never went through an anti-Jewish conspiracy.
I swear you didn't like the Jews at one point.
I never, no, that never happened, Shayne. That never happened. I never
it was women. It was women. And that's still.
I never YouTubed most real Jewish conspiracy. Shayne, they do control the banks. That never happened.
The UFO is just a bagel.
Look,
over.
But look, to be fair, I do have some qualifications in journalism, Shayne. I did a TAFE course, and
congratulations.
So he has a science
I majored in YouTube.
You didn't finish the TAFE course, hon. You did half a TAFE course in journalism, but I'm taking your word for it.
You only need half. You only need half of it.
Because sometimes TAFE can be cyclical, of where you get to half and that's the most knowledge, and then you stay too long and you get dumb again. So if you do half,
diminishing returns.
You left at the moment where you had peak sort of brain power. I think.
No, that's okay. His TAFE lecturer told him that it was better, that doing TAFE is better than doing university. So,
did he?
Yeah. So take his word for it. Right?
Yeah.
How about that for a conspiracy?
What about you, Peter?
Look, I don't have any personal experiences, of which I assume, just based on everything I know about you, you have several. And I'm excited to hear about those. I don't have any personal, but I do believe. I want to say that. I'm putting that out there. I reckon there's stuff going on, hey?
Yeah, is it terms of UFOs flying around on Earth and aliens are controlling them? Are you giving that, the universe is so big, there must be someone out there?
It's probably a bit of the latter, I think. It's like...
Safe bet. Yep.
It is safe bet. But I'm not playing it safe. There's nothing in my life is affected by me believing or unbelieving.
Yeah, you got skin in the game, don't you, Pete? You got skin in the game.
Big UFO. I'm trying to take down big UFO.
Yeah. His dad actually works for NASA, so he has to say that.
I think this particular story, of which we're going to be covering today, about the pilot, is very compelling, however. And I think there's a lot that needs to be answered for.
Thanks for building anticipation to our discussion. I'm sure the listeners are frothing.
They are.
And my personal opinion is what you guys have, but because I always thought if they're so advanced that they're like potentially billions of years more advanced than Earthlings like humans, I don't see what would be so interesting that they would come here. And I've always thought of it like I drive to the Gold Coast to do gigs all the time, and no point do I ever go off the highway to some shitty suburb like Logan and start like talking to the locals.
But sometimes you'll stop to have a piss.
So, yeah, maybe the
That's a
aliens
rude-
are here to take a shit.
That Earth is like a driver reviver.
They're just having a nap.
It's run by the Rotary Club in their minds.
They just abduct people in order to spoon.
It's the really poor aliens go for a little getaway.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like their
The ones who grow up in
vacation.
poverty.
See more
The
at
ones,
tourism.
whose parents are on the methadone
Yeah.
program. in
Earth,
space.
Earth is Bali. Going for a long weekend. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Or they go like a zoo, but like a bad zoo where it's like, oh, the conditions here are horrible. We just want to show you how bad things could go.
Yeah, they've got secret cameras and
Yeah.
being like,
But like Stephen Hawking, he believed that he said that because there's infinite universes that anything is possible. So then aliens, it's quite possible that aliens exist, right?
Yeah.
but I would also say if you're
It's a
going,
convenient belief for him.
So in another world, you're
Yeah, he
not.
could walk.
You're not like this.
Yeah.
oh no,
You must be
I
really
don't-
pissed that you're in this
I-
There's a world where
universe.
Shayne's going to sue.
There's a world in which I'm not making fun of disabled people who have contributed more to humanity than I ever will.
but that's not this world.
No,
Anyway,
he
fire
just-
off, Shane, fire off.
But the angle should be like not that, oh, he's disabled. The angle should be he's disabled and he's still like doing so much better than me. Like,
But would he
that's
have gotten that big if he wasn't disabled? Because he's very memorable.
You might have more time.
You don't forget him. You don't
Right,
forget that
he doesn't
face.
I
blend
don't,
it
I don't think the wheelchair's a brand play. Like, I don't think he's doing it to up his cred.
No, but I'm just saying, would he have gotten as big as he is now if he wasn't? Like, because he wasn't hot. So maybe if he was like super
So
hot,
you're
but because
saying
he's like
if
now.
this podcast doesn't take off, I should fake
You should ride a horse
debilitating
poorly.
yeah, ride
he
a
had
horse poorly.
polio. He had polio.
There you go, guys. What were you talking about?
I was going to say that, so you were going, why, if they were billions of years advanced, why would they come here? I guess if you look at it from the perspective of, oh, we're humans and we study mold, we study fungus, it's not intelligent, but we're interested to see how it
But
behaves.
so if you think about artificial intelligence, like the
Yeah.
idea that once you get a smarter than human AI, it can exponentially increase its own processing power. So it can make itself smarter. And so the speed in which it gets way smarter than us, eventually it would be able to like simulate the universe inside of itself.
Yeah, right.
Like pretty accurately, which I would feel would make the need to come down and have a look around redundant. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, maybe they might be interested in the mold, but if we had like super AI, you're probably not going to be like scraping mold off the gutter. You're going to be, oh, super Google, what's going on with the mold?
Yeah.
Maybe it's more a behavioural psychology thing. Like I'd bring kids here and be like, if you don't turn out well, that's this. If you misbehave,
it's like
I'm
be
going
on
to
the
drop you
scared
off.
straight.
I'm going to drop
This
you
is-
off
maybe
here.
Earth is
Yeah.
where the alien crackheads go to smoke crack, so the space police don't.
This
find
is like the Earth's the smoker's tree.
them.
Yeah.
It's the crack den of the universe.
The
That's
taste.
beautiful.
People go to
That's
taste.
beautiful. That's really nice. We should end it there.
See everyone,
podcast is-
tune in.
Crack den of the universe.
Let's get that tattooed after this immediately.
But when I was much younger, I used to be more prone to fusing with narratives and believing like UFO stuff and just like being too open-minded. And like I remember when I was 18, I watched like a YouTube video and it was part of that kind of UFO conspiracy shit. And it was about the planet Narubu colliding with Earth in
Narubu?
2020, something like that. And then it was going to hit Earth and wipe us all out. And I showed my girlfriend at the time, who was also 18, and she watched it. And then she just turned to me shocked and said, we need to tell our families. And then we just forgot about it. But like,
Comes and you're like, oh yeah, I was meant to tell you guys. Civilization's getting wiped out.
Yeah.
What about it?
oh
Sorry.
yeah, no, you kind of sober up in the morning and you're like, oh. But it's also like, it's awkward to tell your family, hey guys, I YouTubed most real earth-ending doomsday.
Yep.
And we're in trouble.
So selfish.
tell our
Why tell
families.
them? There's nothing they can do about it. It's not like they
Well,
can duck off to a different planet.
Maybe they'll
Just stressing
stop,
them out.
Maybe they'll stop watching Netflix and spend more quality time together. You know what I mean?
It's a ploy to get them to spend
shouldn't
time with
need-
you.
You can
Yeah.
make it up.
You make it up.
Maybe you
Really
should go around
miss-
telling people you're dying so people treat you nicer.
Yeah, maybe. That goes with our wheelchair thing.
Yeah.
It's on the same theme here.
Yeah. So I used to come from that more conspiracy world, right?
Yeah.
And so
Did you?
as I've had life humiliate me and humble me, I've been moving towards more of a mainstream sort of thing. So I felt like when I was young, I was encouraged by movies like The Matrix and stuff to see mainstream narratives as like a conspiracy. And it was partly probably because I was an underachiever and I couldn't actually fit in. You know what I mean? But now, instead of that, I'm trying to instead of seeing The Matrix as an illusion, I'm in the reverse thing where I see like the Matrix of society as the real thing, and I'm trying to move into it. Like it's like the reverse. Like I'm trying to get out of like the ship flying around the gutters into a nice office job.
Yeah, do a cubicle.
Yeah, give me that cubicle. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And because I've been trying to move away from that, like my cousin who has like the default brain I've got, he still is really obsessed with UFOs. I don't know if you have any friends like that or those kinds of people. And he's 2 years older than me, and he's so obsessed with it that he almost gets like angry.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, what's
I
that going to
do it,
change, Jason? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You still have the perennial problems of the human condition if UFOs are real. It's not like, oh, UFOs are real. Oh, that's cool, Jason. Who's going to pick up the kids? The aliens? Are they going to pick them up at 3 today? Like shit needs to get done, mate.
Yeah.
But he also was like, when he was like angry about it, he was also smoking tobacco cones,
Okay.
which I think is interesting because not only should he not be smoking tobacco cones, it's like he's doing that because he's been so disorganized he doesn't have enough weed to smoke. And it's not a financial thing. He's just like logistically has fucked up his drug habit. And so
way to
like
get off drugs.
his priorities are so bad, he's failing to organize the things he shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? Like he's like an exception of disorganization.
Hilarious.
And so what's interesting to me is so there's UFOs, these unidentified flying objects that are mysterious, that gives a sense of awe, what's going on there, they're aliens or whatever. But I also feel like his obsession with these UFOs, like he believes there's government cover-ups, but I think it's actually a coping mechanism for him to feel better about his own position in life.
Yeah.
Like he's actually using government cover-ups to cover up his own failure to govern himself. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Like
right,
he's
right,
like,
right.
oh, should you be smoking tobacco cones? Just nah, fucking Roswell, mate. Roswell's the real priority. And so I was less X-Files, more tax files. And yeah, so there's these unidentified life priorities, like ULPs, that he should be paying attention to instead of UFOs. And I find that like almost just as mind-blowing as like UFOs. Because do you ever remember a phase in your life where you look back at a younger version of yourself and you're like, what the fuck was I doing?
Sure, we all, yeah.
We all do that. Probably me and Shayne more than you guys. We all do that.
Yeah.
I sometimes think back and go, what the fuck was Shayne doing? Fucking hell, what was he up to back then? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
is there a
What is
time
he
in
up
your
to
guys'
now?
lives where you can identify having unidentified life priorities?
Oh, not overly, but any distraction, whether it be of the extraterrestrial kind or the mortal kind.
Or the terrestrial
Or the
Shayne.
terrestrial distractions.
Terrestrial identified objects
Yeah.
are adopting me just as much as because that's the other thing I was thinking about. You get abducted, like UFOs, you get abducted by, and you're like, oh, what happened? I can't remember. There's something happened. It was like butt stuff and it was weird. But you can also get that with ULPs. You ever go into a masturbation trance? And you're like, oh, I got abducted by a ULP. Like I should have, like I had shit to do today. I've spent an hour masturbating.
Yeah,
An
well,
hour?
you forget
That's
to
impressive.
start.
An hour?
Yeah,
Let's
one
not
time
gloss
you told me
over
you
that,
spent
Shayne.
3 hours masturbating. I'm like, that's so long.
When did I say? When
You
did I
told
say
me that. You told me that when you were in.
It
You
would've
were
been
like, I
a-
spent like 3 hours masturbating today, and I was like,
It would have been
"Ew,
after
you're
all
in
the
my
anti-Semitic stuff, I
bedroom."
reckon.
Well, look.
An hour. I don't want to
At
gloss
my
over
mum's
this.
house.
An hour is really treating yourself. This
Look,
is your...
like I believe in quality over quantity, guys.
Yeah, so one massive wank.
Yeah.
Is it though, or you were supposed to start and you started scrolling through Instagram?
Do you get
for, like,
distracted while you're wanking?
20
Is that what's
minutes?
happening?
Yeah, you're forgetting what you're doing. You get a
Look,
notification.
this is about UFOs, not about my self fucking wanking routine.
I just wonder if they're linked. That's all.
No. But what's interesting is it's like with the ULPs and stuff, like I find that just as mysterious as all these undercover sort of conspiracies, because you do have that revelation of, oh, fuck, I should have been doing this all this time. And so like me and Sean earlier were talking about like all the ULPs in life. Do you know what I mean? When like someone asks, when you walk into a room and then you forget why you walked in, it's just guys, you walk into the room and then you're like, why did I walk in here? And it's very much, or like yeah.
Or like when I asked my mum where my dad is.
She's just looking at you blankly while this music plays. Or like when my ex-girlfriend asked me when I was going to get a job. Any other examples of ULPs?
And then
I just love this game. I just love this game.
yeah, we were doing this for
game.
hours. What else?
When you're 3 hours into a wank and then you start looking at conspiracy theories.
Somehow it works
Where'd the
better.
day go?
I have a friend who doesn't know who the father of her 2 kids is. So it's like when she asks, when her kids grow up and they're like, who's my dad?
Is this friend's name Sean? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
And
but
it's funny because the name, but she doesn't want to admit that to me, but I know because she always changes the name of the father of her kids. Like sometimes it's Luke, sometimes it's Andrew. And so that's how I've worked it out. I'm like, she does, and she's, I know who the father of my kids is.
she's real
It's Luke.
defensive about
I
it.
was like, that's weird. Last week it was Andrew.
You can have multiple fathers to the same person.
Yeah, that's how it works, right? All the cum merges into one thing.
Yeah, just this weird half
They're a
deformed
bit of
Andrew look.
They're a bit of everything.
Two
Oh,
white
no,
chromosomes.
wait, no, it's also, Mum, when are you going to stop drinking?
I'm gonna get my life together. Yeah, so what's also interesting about the ULP things is the trope with like, a lot of alien abduction stories is that like they do anal probing, and there's like heaps
No, they
of
do.
like hack angles about why were they interested in your butthole, Gary? All that kind of stuff, which I'm not going to belittle the audience with those kinds of jokes. But in terms of ULPs, Sean's mum actually became interested in healthcare, became a nurse, mental health.
Specifically. So she was studying just to be a general nurse. And then my mum's a bit of an oddball. And should we go into
She's
a
a
bit
lovely
of my mum?
woman.
Should we go
mean,
for them to understand? Or?
Well, it's
Do
up
you
to
know
man.
Sean's mum?
Yeah, she's great.
But anyway,
What was that big wink you just did?
I didn't do it.
You said she's great, and then you did a big, exaggerated, cartoonish wink. I don't know why you did that.
twitched. I think it was just a twitch.
I don't think it was a tweet. I saw you go like this. You went,
Table.
and you had your
Yeah.
tongue out, like you did a big, like I actually heard ting when you did it, and then a little
Wow.
shiny like glow came out of your winking eye. But anyway, no, I'm sure she's lovely and tell me more about it.
Yeah, but I do want to tell her the story.
Should I explain her more though?
Oh, up to you.
I don't know. She's just like a bit of an oddball. We'll see if it's just funny without explaining her too much. Well, she's my mum, so
Yeah,
there will be
Explanation
context
enough.
set.
context.
We've made. I know exactly all about it.
And but she's like wholesome. She's like a wholesome version of me. And she was studying to be like a general, like emergency nurse. And then this guy came into ER, and this is why she got into the mental health field, because a guy came into ER, and he had a bust of Napoleon up his ass. And she was like, after I saw that guy with a bust of Napoleon up his ass, I just thought I want to understand the human psyche a bit more. It's beyond me. Why would someone? I don't understand. It's but it was no judgment at all. It was just
was
like
curiosity.
It was just curiosity.
Yeah.
It was just like.
It was like Mulder in the X-Files, like going, "Oh, the truth is out there." It was like that sense of awe and wonder.
And it was the same way when she found out I was doing sex work. She didn't judge it at all. She was just like, sure. Do you have to have sex with all of them, or do they just come for a yarn most of the time?
She's not good with boundaries, but boy, is she curious.
Yeah. And then, and what else did she? When I was being a prostitute, what else did she? Oh yeah, and then I called her one day from the brothel, and I said, "Hey, Mum, I want to come home, but I have a booking." And Mum was like, "Shan, you got to stay for the booking." And I was like, "I kind of want to leave." She's like, "Shan, what would your boss say?"
Yeah, you've made a commitment.
What, you mean my pimp, Mum? My pimp.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to get shifts, mate. If you...
It is weird, like, why is they have the Napoleon bust in their ass? You know what I mean? Was that, like, more erotic because it was a historical figure? Or was that just, like, all they could find? Or... And also, like, why was there no planning involved? You know what I mean? And so it does very much kind of give you that kind of sense of awe.
Yeah, that
you
was
know?
my moment. Why does...
Yeah, and so I also feel like UFOs make people feel better about their ULPs.
Right.
Because I think there's like something seductive about the idea that, oh, there's a secret conspiracy, there's aliens invading, the government's lying to us, because it's a way of delegitimizing the social hierarchy. So people, I think, intuitively will feel like resentment about their position in the social hierarchy, but it's a way of delegitimizing that hierarchy. So it's like, no, I'm not a loser. The hierarchy's wrong. You're the losers for trying in life.
Yeah. That's deep.
That's beautiful. And so they pack their backy bong, and it makes them feel. It makes the backy bong like you might go, oh, why would you smoke a backy bong? What would you get out of that? You need to mix it in with UFO conspiracies. Then it's more enjoyable.
Oh right, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's like a guilt-free backy bong.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I was just ignoring my cousin and stuff. But then it actually came out recently that the US military and government has actually admitted that UFOs are real, and that they released some footage of some, and there was like if you Google like UFO Tic Tac, there's like fighter jets that were like zooming in on them, and there's people in the US like Air Force and like even Obama said, "Oh, the shit, we don't know what it is, but there's UFO, like there's a real thing flying around, right?" And it's so weird for the US government to admit that. Because to me, it's so weird when that Venn diagram of people smoke tobacco cones and the US like military agree with each other. NASA's now agreeing with the tobacco cone guy, and they rarely have consensus, those groups. And
is there anything that they would else they would agree on? Do you think? Or is this the first time in human history that's ever happened?
that we should? I don't know. What do you
The
think?
backy bong.
What do you think, Peter?
Mate, I'm like Sean's mum. I just want to get to know your brain. I want to know how you think, Shayne. And why the fuck are you fucking up men, Shayne?
Why am I fucking all that,
She did
man?
ask you, didn't she? I think she asked you. She was like, I think she asked you how gay you were when we went out.
She asked me how gay I was.
Yeah, I think so. And you were like, I find men attractive sometimes. I remember that conversation. And I was just like, it's
Well, there you go.
And then you
How gay
pulled a
am
little.
I?
I love that's how gay are you? Like you're gonna be like, oh, 7?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It depends on the wind's blowing at like 30 knots an hour, like very like
Summer or winter? Sean's mum?
Yeah. I'm actually seasonally gay. People get like seasonal depression. I get really gay in the winter.
oh, really? I've never heard about it.
Oh, it's gay in the winter. Yes. Oh, just have the Pride Parade in the winter. And so you asked, here's the thing. So the Navy agreeing with Stone is weird.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a trend that's been happening because now psychologists who are very dismissive of psychedelics, they're now studying LSD and MDMA on the effects of treating like trauma and stuff. And so like Sean, you got an anecdote about MDMA?
MDMA about...
Like a coincidence?
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Well, but when we were talking about that, so that's just like I don't think like psychiatrists and shit wanted people to start being like, oh, when I take MDMA, that's actually good for my mental health. When I like take acid, it's actually like curing the trauma, blah, 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 blah. But I can't remember.
Taking like heroin when you're not injured.
But
right?
it's just also weird to take MDMA like with your psychologist. You don't want to take MDMA with your psychologist.
I don't think they take it with you.
I
think like 3, 2, I'm going nuts with you, Sean.
Yeah, like do
the
you
psychologist like, you feeling it? You come up as well, man?
Yeah, like do you
Should we double drop? I don't feel anything.
Like, do you start hugging each other? And you just like, you're
fuck the
so
psychologist.
sweet.
Therapist is like, look at the wall. Look at the wall.
For example, right, I actually did see a UFO once. It was actually with Damien Power.
Okay.
And
I did believe you.
Yeah,
Like, the first sentence, I believed you.
No, yeah, and then Damien saw it as well, and we're in a graveyard.
I know what
We're
you're
in
saying.
a graveyard, and we're lying in the graveyard, and we're talking about philosophy, and then we're
Hey, wait.
distracted.
No, back to the why are you laying down in a graveyard?
We'll get to that.
With Damien
We'll
Power.
get to that.
No,
It's a seasonal
it's very
gay
important,
thing.
I
It's a
think.
seasonal gay thing.
They do it in the winter.
It was nippy out.
Yeah.
Bit of a breeze, bit of a cool breeze.
But we're talking about Frederick Nietzsche, and then we saw like a couple lights, what looked to be 6 lights, and it looked a little bit like a kind of football stadium kind of lights.
Okay.
And it didn't make any noise. I didn't really think of it like, I just noticed it. And then there was no like, oh, because it was just like there. And then it just got like way smaller and then like disappeared as if it was like moving away real quick.
Were you guys talking about it when you saw it? Were you like, that's
Once it moved, I think we processed it was a thing. And he was like, dude, did you fucking see that? I was like, yeah, what the fuck was that? And then we like had no explanation and it was pretty weird. But to be fair, I was on LSD at the time.
Yeah.
And
It's just crazy how those things can coincide.
yeah, what a coincidence.
It is very interesting.
The one time I'm on LSD,
Dun.
but Damien saw it as well.
Stone Cold Sober, Damien?
No, he was on LSD as well.
Yes,
so-
and now there is a pattern forming here.
I'd like to point out one thing. I haven't met Damien Power, so he may be a conspiracy, his existence to me. So your story, I'm like, I don't know if Damien's
Is
real. I don't know if
Damien
UFOs are-
Power real? Stop fucking covering up the existence of Damien Power.
That name sounds made up.
Oh, I'll just put him on loudspeaker.
Hey, Shayne, you're a good asshole. I want to eat your asshole.
That is a fantastic
Have you
Damien
ever
Power
seen Damien Power's act? He just goes on stage and says he wants to eat Shayne Hunter's arsehole. It's really weird.
8,000 followers.
It wins awards. I don't need to understand it.
That's what the people
He's one
want.
of the best in the country.
Yeah, but it's crazy how those things,
And
can
so
coincide,
that's
coexist
right.
with each
And there
other.
was another coincidence you were talking about.
Yeah. So
with the-
my best friend was in a long-term relationship with someone, and she dumped them because one night she took MDMA. She met another girl, and one night she went out and she met another girl, and she told me the next day, she's like, Sean, I met this girl. It was love at first sight. It was love at first sight. I'm leaving my girlfriend and I'm going to date her. And things didn't really work out with this girl. A couple of months later, this new girl, it didn't work out. And she was like, Sean, you know what? I was on MDMA that night. Isn't it a coincidence that the night that you
Find the love of
you
your
met
life.
your
Good
favorite
feeling.
drug, you also met your...
If I could say that when I was
favourite
watching this podcast, I tried to find a correlation between excessive drug use areas and the UFO
Oh,
sightings.
wow. Science.
Yeah, and
She is from a science background.
yeah, I'm a science background.
Which we all know.
Did
Mate,
anyone?
you're in a science foreground right now.
But maybe drugs just show you the truth.
There was no
Yeah.
I couldn't find. Someone else might look for 18 seconds.
You could find
but
no correlation.
I couldn't find the correlation. The UFO side. Yeah.
Holy
So the
fuck,
high
that's
levels
crazy.
of those psychedelics weren't in the same places.
Wow.
Not saying the places with the UFO sightings don't have them. Everywhere has them, but the highest levels didn't match up with the UFO sightings.
Oh, that's so
in
interesting.
Australia.
Wow.
That's-
Graph that out. But there was another coincidence, right? And this was Sean.
Last time I relapsed.
Sean relapsed, she messaged me saying that she had spiders in her vagina and that she was worried there were spider eggs in there. She had been bitten by a spider.
Yep.
And I said to her, Sean, do you realize that like one of the symptoms of meth psychosis is thinking there's like bugs under your skin? And she was like, wow, what a coincidence that the one time I happen to have spiders in my vagina is the
Which is
one
like my
time-
biggest fear. It's always been my biggest fear.
I know, like, what a
Biggest
coincidence.
fear and most recurring actual incident that happens.
And I smoke meth, and then my biggest fear happens.
That is
That's
crazy.
nuts. That's nuts.
And so it makes you wonder, like, with the US government admitting it, all that, it's like agreeing with the stoners that what is the next thing the US government's going to say? What else does my cousin write about? Is the government going to be like, oh, you guys...
Chicken wings are delicious.
Yeah.
Well, did everyone see that NASA just fired something into an asteroid because they're testing out whether or not it'll work to get it off course?
Yeah, I did see that.
Really?
That
How
would
did
have
that go?
cost.
Did it work?
Still working it out. Yeah, I think they hit it. I think that's where we were at with the data. I haven't followed it up. Which is another thing. Like no one cares.
I think you remind me of that thing Reagan said during the Cold War, which is like, if
Joe
aliens invaded, Joe Rogan said during the Cold War, is if aliens invaded, then how quickly like the Soviet Union and the West would get over their shit. And so maybe we're on the verge of a nuclear holocaust. So wouldn't it be good if Russia and Ukraine had to like work
We're
together
both
against
laying
aliens?
down in a
Oh,
graveyard.
so they're trying to.
Or laying down
Russia and Ukraine are just
Yeah,
laying in a
sorry,
graveyard. They're like, can you fucking say that, mate?
Putin, are you seeing this too, Putin?
And then as soon as they're like, you want to go for a coffee in the morning?
I think Zelensky and Putin could be the new Shayne and Damien duo.
Yeah, I think so. Similar values.
He's a comedian.
That's true.
And yeah, so that's interesting. But I was always dismissive of. It's so crazy to me that the US government's saying it's real because I went through that get rid of the conspiracy phase, try to be more practical and real,
Yeah.
and more grounded, and a bit more focused. And like I used to dismiss open-minded people, like my friend Aaron. he's like super open-minded and super creative, but a lot of those super open-minded creative people, they're like not at all practical. And so they just like live in a la la land. Like my friend Aaron, he was like, he's always come up with great ideas, but they're not, you can't implement them. Like Aaron, I was like the other day talking to him on the phone. Aaron, that is a brilliant idea. That is such a good idea. If we nail that, Aaron, like we're gonna make a lot of money, Aaron. But one thing, where are we gonna get a dragon? Where are we gonna find a dragon, Aaron? Because other than that's bulletproof. You know what I mean? That's such a good idea. And like I remember one time, like Aaron, like we were smoking weed. He's medically.
But you're gonna get the dragon.
There's one here.
Solution.
And we had this like stupid idiot idea where we're going to make a movie where there's like a fungal virus that makes people zombies, but it doesn't infect you if you smoke weed. So one day we wake up, everyone's a zombie, but we're not because we were smoking weed. And then it's like an action movie, and then we're like turned bongs into like flamethrowers, and we got them with arms, and we're like blowing like weed smoke on all the zombies. And anyway, like I woke up the next day and I was like, that's the dumbest idea I've ever had in my life. And then Aaron, I see him again sober the next day, and he's like, Shayne, I've been really thinking about that movie, man. Like he was ready to go. Yeah, take it to Hollywood.
Be the military person in it that has to pick out who's the zombie and who's smoking weed and try and tell the difference.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know which one. I don't know which one to kill.
He's the stoner. No, he's the stoner.
But Aaron, where are we
That's such a good point. We would have just been yeah.
But Aaron, where are we going to get a dragon?
Yeah. But Aaron, how are we going to achieve something? And so I tried to think about...
Aaron, you have 3 kids.
And so I was trying to understand maybe why the government's only recently admitted this, if they've known these UFOs have been going on for ages. And I could only... My brain could only think about it in the way that like maybe the military has changed their attitude towards like homosexuality and LGBT stuff. I think maybe the richer you are in a society, the less stress you have and the more time you have to focus on other stuff. And like when you're super stressed out and poor, you don't have time to think about like gay people stuff. If you're like super hungry, if I'm like, have you ever driven around in a car and you see someone like crying? Like in the other car?
Yes.
Or you've been crying yourself? Right? Like after a breakup or whatever, I could probably see a UFO and I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's too much else.
Like, even though I would see a UFO and know I'm not alone in the universe, I would still feel alone in the universe. You know what I mean?
I suppose I'll take the probing.
Yeah. Just anything to be touched at this point.
Don't beat me up. Don't.
Yeah, they're not going to abduct. They're not going to abduct me. I don't have a job.
I'm unidentified to them.
Yeah. They don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And they're not even interested. They think I'm just swamp gas. And a lot of developing countries now, their attitudes towards, like we find it quite repugnant, their attitudes towards like homosexuality and stuff. But maybe we should have some empathy because if you're like really poor and you've come out of a civil war, you probably don't have the brain space to really think about that shit. I remember one African dictator, they're asking him and he's like, oh, there's no gay people in our country. That's not a thing. You know what I mean? And so I think it's also like, there's that famous YouTube video of like an African guy asking quite sincerely to like a gay rights activist, why are you gay?
Yeah.
And it's because it's such an alien concept to him. It's like us now with UFOs, like it's hard for us to, like, why are you alien? That's such a mind-blowing concept to him. And so I also think that, so Roswell, if it was an alien thing, it happened like, what, 1947? So all that World War II shit was just happened.
Yeah.
And I think society wasn't able to, maybe it's not that the government covered it up. Maybe it's that people couldn't handle it mentally and they had to dismiss it because it would just rip open too many questions in their worldview, integrate it into their worldview. And I think, so these soldiers had just, particularly higher in the army, like they would have just uncovered like the concentration camps and the industrial scale genocide and saw bodies and their friends blown apart. And then someone's like, we found an alien. And they're like, no, you fucking didn't, mate.
That was.
I don't have time for that gay shit. It's like, because they would have just wanted the stability. And I think it's because they would have had to see the Holocaust. They would have been like, why are you Nazi? But they already had their worldview ripped open so much. Sorry, what were you saying, Carol?
Well, they did release this UFO. It's not the same, but they've released it to us during COVID. So why then, when we're already... Why would they? That's the opposite. of what you're saying.
Maybe they snuck it in. They're like, oh, COVID's
Yeah, no one's
coming
paying
out.
any attention. Let's just shut this out. And we did. We were all like, no one cares. We're busy.
Well, yeah,
But in
it's-
practice, yeah. No, no one's talking about it. We're talking about it, but they're kind of...
But I also think the other thing that's interesting is when I was listening to the NASA thing, trying to answer the question of like, why don't they want to study this more if it is admitted to be a real thing by these military people? And look, they could have gotten wrong. These are the same people who said Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Like, they could be talking shit. But, and in this NASA YouTube, I Googled most real reason why they don't talk about UFOs. And there was a NASA thing. And at the end of the thing, he talks about someone who's going to study this, and they said that it was high risk, high impact research. So high risk in the terms of, it made me think that maybe if you're like work really hard in an institution to climb up and, you know, you got a science background and you could kind of risk that all by being a nutter
Yep.
and going, oh, fucking aliens are real. Let's look at this. Okay, Gary. Because you're associating yourself with the big bomb guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's maybe it's just like the need for group conformity and respectability is the reason they don't look into it.
There's when pilots started flying at height, so say we're talking about 40,000 feet, so that's obviously in human history not that long ago, they started seeing things, and I'm talking about natural things, not UFOs, things like lightning going up out of a cloud instead of down. We all know lightning goes down. And no one said anything for a long time because no one wanted to be that guy that is the first one to say, did you guys all know
really?
lightning goes up? And everyone's going to be like, what an idiot. What a crazy person. And there's a few phenomenons like that happened where now we all acknowledge it. That's the way nature
Mate,
works.
lightning goes up when I'm fucking on fire on stage, mate. Fucking. I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to be funny, guys. But no, that's
Absolutely
very-
crowbarred in there, that one.
That was a quirky Shane, what happened there?
I've
You've done... Okay.
too much silly.
You mentioned electricity and the shot of jolt in his brain. He just forgot how to be.
My
We can edit that out.
brain was actually firing the electricity in the wrong direction. But yeah, no. So
I'm not too scared to admit it. I don't care if anyone that calls me crazy. Shane's fucked.
Look,
Does anyone
no
here-
risk, no reward. That was a high risk, high impact riff.
Does anyone believe carrots make your eyesight better? Like, really?
I have heard that rumor.
Yeah, does anyone believe it? Other than the
is
fact
it-
that it's healthy and maybe increasing.
At one point I did.
Yeah.
Until I read BuzzFeed article Truth Exposed thing.
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
So when they invented radars, which the Allies did, we didn't want people to know. So we told, and the pilots can suddenly see better. We have a radar now. So they told everyone that the pilots were eating carrots.
This is why this is one of the explanations as to why they say some UFO stuff were like weather balloons or whatever. It's the idea they don't want to let rivals know we're testing stuff.
Yeah. And that's what they have mentioned that with the current, what are those UFOs? Could it just be some countries invented something really good and we don't know what it is?
I'm looking forward to going to Bali on a flying saucer, mate. But what's also interesting about all this kind of stuff is UFOs have such a stigma, and there's so many charlatans that have written books and the ancient aliens where the guys like, who built the pyramids? And the other thing that's interesting is that like my stoner friends, they're always
Your friends.
me, and they always found it interesting, like all that shit about who really built the pyramids. But it's usually unemployed people that find it so hard to believe that humans built the pyramids and must have been aliens, because the idea of work is so foreign to them. They're like, it must have been aliens. Like,
And they would be the ones that we would have picked to build, like they would be the slaves. So they probably don't want it to happen. They're like, I don't want it to
yeah.
Because I will
it's
be the
definitely,
slave, you know?
definitely aliens.
Yeah.
Aliens made
Like
this
no
pizza.
one get any ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aliens spent my rent money. and so now they're calling them UAPs. And I find that curious that they're
What's that?
unidentified aerial phenomenon,
Oh,
which is like the same as unidentified flying object. But
Yeah.
maybe they're saying it's not an object.
I reckon that's a clever rebrand
Well,
because
that's-
UFO sounds crazy now.
Exactly. That's the point. Is they're
UAP,
trying to move away from that thing. It's the way that they changed. Like at one point, people were disabled. They actually used the term spastic without any kind of meaning it to be derogatory. Like I've got a thing from like the heyday where it's like the spastic center.
Is this maybe a sign that they're real because we don't want to offend them?
Yeah, it's
We're
like
getting
it's
PC
politically
for
correct.
them.
Yeah.
It's when they come, we'll be like, oh, we never
Yeah,
said
we
it
used to
was-
call them UFOs. Can you remember? Remember the
You
term?
dig it.
word.
You fucking
Sorry,
dig
mate.
it.
We didn't know at the time. It was 2022.
Yeah.
We were saying all
Woke
sorts of
now.
things.
Yeah.
Sean's still saying UFO.
I say UFOs on
Stage,
stage and get banned from good chat.
She's cancelled.
Yeah. Jake freaks out.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
like-
I'm gonna get complaints.
Can't say the U word, Sean.
I've been working too hard on this comedy club for too long. And they've made like ufology. It's like this kind of like open source like fuckhead movement where people like maybe in the 90s before like terrorism, and then like now COVID, world war collapsing nightmare we're in, like that just occupied maybe people's mental space. The Cold War. But I think that was the 90s was like the era where the people got most into UFOs. And I think that's what like really poisoned the whole UFO thing, is because you had too many people who like Backy Bong kind of people like getting involved. And it's so weird because the more that, like my cousin who's really passionate about UFOs, is people like him, the more passionate they are about it, the less likely credible people would want to investigate it. Do you know, it's like when you're attracted to someone and you text them too much, like it's going to backfire.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Right,
It's like you got to stop talking about UFOs if you want to uncover the truth.
Yeah, Backy Bongo has to be like... Oh.
He has to play it cool with the UFO. I don't care if they're... I don't know.
I mean,
who knows what it is? Maybe it's just a natural phenomenon.
If they're out there, cool. If they're not, I don't care. Whatever. It doesn't change anything for me. Sort of thing. Yeah.
Totally. And so I looked into ufology, and they've got like a whole mythology, which is interesting. And there's 3 main kinds of aliens. There's reptilians, greys, and Nordics. They're the recurring ones. And I just thought it was funny that, okay, you got like reptile creatures, like weird bulbous head grey things, and then just like hot white people. You kind of
It fits in with what you want.
Yeah.
'Cause with the probing, you're going to be probed by what you want to be probed
Oh
by.
man, I really...
Probed by a Nordic bitch, yes,
that's what
please.
we're
It's
after.
like when you're getting
Don't do
abducted,
it.
you're like, I really hope these are Nordics.
Don't do it.
Yeah, the spaceship, the flap of the spaceship opens up, you start to see a beard, you're like, fucking yes, mate.
It's the Nordics.
Fill me up.
I just thought it's kind of oddly racist. Like, what? There's no black people in space?
Yeah, okay.
I don't think there's black people in space. There's no black people in the pool. Why would they be in space?
Oh, Jesus. Hello.
I think the typecasting's changing slightly there, Peter. You're just wearing a clan
Oh,
outfit.
you all left me out in the dirt there. I said a clearly silly thing.
You obviously
you
grew up in
took it at
Cairns.
gospel.
Oh, I am out.
You know what? UFO, I'm saying it. UFO. UFO. Feels great.
He's doing a Kramer. He's a UFO.
We'll bleep this later.
That's great. Yeah, me in front of the Laugh Factory sign.
Anytime we say UFO in this, I'm going to bleep it for the rest of the podcast as a slur.
And blur our faces.
And so also a lot of the things that happens with these UFO things is they do memory regressions, which I find quite terrifying, because there's this idea that, oh, I thought I saw something, but then you hypnotize people and you're like, oh, what did you see? And you make it up and you give yourself a false memory. Like that scares the shit out of me.
Apparently all our memories are false memories to some extent.
Really?
Oh, hello.
What's about
Hello.
that?
Science
Sarah.
background.
Tell us
Get
about
stuck
that.
in.
Tell us about
Well,
that.
I guess it'd be like a spectrum, but of how false our memory is.
Different sort of
I'm,
stuff.
I'm on it.
Yeah, you guys are.
You guys
Yeah.
are like,
Yeah.
locked in. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what? You probably don't remember. I've got a joke about a family intervention that I do, just a 2-second joke, and I did it. I showed my brother it, and I don't know what it was based on. I just did it one day and it worked, so I kept using it. I told my brother, and he got so offended. He was like upset, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Don't you remember my intervention when we were teenagers? Like we had an actual."
Really?
And I was like, "No." And that memory's just gone. I deleted it. And then when he started describing it to me in like the room and everything, I'm like, oh my God, that happened. And it's gone.
Oh,
Like my brain
wow.
had just deleted it completely.
right.
Extreme example, but even just small memories, like even when we go home and try and remember what happened in this room, it's going to be tainted by our feelings at the time, our mental state. What if we had any substances? Are we hungry? Changes the way.
Man, that podcast was so passive aggressive. It was crazy.
Yeah, we're all going to have a different. You've seen it. I've seen it when I was a flight attendant. Like I would see a woman. I'm like, she's so.
Why did everyone think I was fat on that podcast?
Everyone's so mean to me. I'm a victim here.
Yeah.
What did you see on a flight?
Oh, there's a woman and she's got a child, and I'm like, she is so stressed. That poor lady. I walk down the back, and then another flight attendant comes up to me. She goes, "She's so rude to me. She's a rude lady." I'm like, she's not rude. She's really focusing on her child. Like maybe she was rude and I was wrong.
So reality is
Or
like
maybe-
a Rorschach test.
Yeah, we've all got a perspective
Everyone's
of the
like
world.
a Rorschach test walking around.
Yeah, and because we got a limited way we view, we don't see every light on the spectrum.
So
and all
someone
that.
who sees a UFO, the other person will be like, nah, mate.
That UFO
yeah, that was
really
definitely
nice.
that was a 747. I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see it. Because I know
wow.
what 747s look like and I know what their lighting patterns are. That person may have never seen that before.
Has anyone of your peers seen a UFO or described any of that stuff?
Like a pilot.
Oh, sorry, a UAP. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Has anyone seen a UAP?
Are we talking about like the pilots?
In your pilot world?
No, I don't think they'd be open to talk about it. I just don't think they'd say
really?
it.
Oh.
They just would. They
Do you
wouldn't.
mean-
This is
early in my
the lightning.
training-
This is the new lightning going up
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, obviously my husband's been flying for over 20 years at night, and he said he's never seen anything. So, are we covering it up? Is it
Yeah.
a Qantas conspiracy?
Yeah. So
Sorry, I was a bit slow on that.
I still call Australia home.
Wouldn't that be weird? Like when they do that induction stuff, like they just play that music, and they're like, "All right, guys, put your mask on yourself before others," and then why are they playing the X-Files? It's fucking unsettling as shit. Or like, what if we do a gig where you know how like in comedy they have the dumb music thing before we go on to make up for the lack of enthusiasm from the crowd? Do you know that thing? For one comedy gig, we just do this. Please welcome your next act to the stage, Peter James. As he's walking up, you know what I mean? Like the audience is going, yeah. Anyway, that's more ULP, unidentified podcast priorities. All right, so more into the actual events of this story here.
Yes.
So he sees a green light with a metal surface, and he asks if there's other aircrafts out there. He asks if there's an Air Force going fast, and saying it's above him, it's not an aircraft. And there's like a sort of a back and forth between air traffic control, and then eventually he stops responding, and there's 17 seconds of like kind of scratchy metal stuff.
Right.
No wreckage is found. They find a cap months later from this kind of light aircraft, but a few aircrafts had gone missing, and so there was no clear indication that it was from his aircraft. So it could have been from any of these things, or they could all been abducted by aliens. There was someone about 20 minutes before he was reported disappeared. Someone had taken a photo of a UFO, but when you look at the photo, it just looks like a kind of weird smudgy bit of like grey cloudness, but like darker. It's unidentified, but it didn't look like a flying saucer. That area, the Bass Strait, is also known to be like Australia's Bermuda Triangle. There's been like a lot of boats that have gone missing. There's even been like rescue parties have gone out and have gone missing. People go missing just walking around in Brisbane. And you don't, oh, it's the Logan Triangle. Like you don't. And yeah, there was someone who said in Adelaide, like later on, that they had a farmer had saw a UFO with a light aircraft like attached to it flying by. But the problem with that is there's no source for that. It's like the source is like some
The
guy.
saucer.
Ooh. And there's someone on Reddit.
Are we allowed to call them sources?
You're playing
actually
it too
cool.
late every time.
I thought it'd be worth talking about like abductions. So one of the first abduction cases was a guy in Brazil. I think it was in the 40s. And he was like a farmer. And so one night him and his brother see this like light flying around in the field. And then they like freak out. They close their windows because, you know, out of sight, I don't mind. And then it flies above them and it like light shine through and then it disappears. And they're like, what the fuck was that? And then the next day they see a red light around there at night and they freak out and then just run inside. The next day he's out in the field, but it's nighttime with his tractor, like doing farm shit. And
They do love doing that.
yeah, all those farmers. And then it like goes above him, this like red light thing, and then like his thing stops working and he goes to run away. And then he says these three beings grab him and they're wearing these kind of like black kind of uniform things, with kind of bigger heads, and they have like 3 tubes going back and bigger eyes.
Okay.
And then they drag him onto the ship, which like a ladder like just falls out of, and they take him in there and it's got like kind of lights on it and it's all weird. And then he goes inside and then he's there and then they kind of take his clothes off and they put him into a room. And the room seemed to just open out of this like metal wall. They just like kind of open, and then when it closes, it's as if the walls, like there's no door there.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like those Shandy get bras that don't have seams.
yeah, they have
Yeah.
seamless door bras.
Seamless door bras. Yeah.
And so exactly, it's the same technology actually.
Where's he got it from?
Yeah, and they got it from us originally. And then so he walks into this room naked, and then they like have this weird smoke that comes out of it that he says kind of smells like burnt plastic or something. He ends up like vomiting. And then like that door opens again, the seamless bra door, and then in walks like a chick that he describes as like the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. And she's got like blonde hair, she's got like freckles on her arms or whatever, and quite big hips, like feminine features.
That does sound
And
beautiful.
like I've got an erection right now.
That's
And she had
I'm to
like,
go for a 4-hour masturbation session after this.
Did he just have Sean's mum?
and that's how I prepared for this podcast. And then and then she had like bigger than average eyes and kind of quite an angular face. And then he was like, "What's going on?" And then apparently she walks up like she's naked and starts kind of grinding her head against his chest. And then she ends up like riding him in a sexual manner.
Oh, wow.
With his penis in her.
That does sound very sexual. That does sound like a
They're
sexual.
having sex in a sexual manner.
Yeah, they were having sex in a sexy
They
way.
did a sex-like activity where his penis was in her vagina.
They were.
Sounds like a 15-year-old's written.
I mean, if they
magazine.
Yeah.
if they weren't having sex, boy, they were sure close to it. And I mean, if that's not sex, I don't know what is. And so they were having what from all description appears to be sex, and then she like grunts a few times. That was in the description. And
Also,
then, like,
it's-
'cause, like,
She
the-
grunts.
Well,
Oh, grunt.
it's important
I
for
wasn't
We
expecting
got a
that.
grunter.
it's important for people to know that she was satisfied. Apparently,
Isn't
you know?
it-
The alien was happy with the thing.
Isn't it also very funny? This is such
And,
an indictment.
and he's like, and she came 50 times.
And it was
Dude,
totally hot.
She just keep coming.
It's like such a reflection on the male to be abducted, to be like, aliens.
to be chosen.
You're on a spaceship and then you start fucking. Yeah, I'll take whenever. Yeah, my whole life and everything I know about reality has just been changed. But if I can fuck now, I'll do it.
If it's on the table,
Yeah.
Imagine being the female alien too. Let's pick the best specimen. Oh, that guy's on a tractor.
Totally.
That's pinnacle man.
it's quite egotistical. And then, why me? It's obvious, isn't it?
Because you're big cock, man.
I mean, dude, she was grunting. And then, anyway, he comes, and then
He comes.
He comes.
That's incredible.
He comes inside of the
Man.
vagina. It sounds
Wow.
like. So they had.
This guy, we need to do a case study on sexual performance from this guy. This is my
And
hero.
apparently, dude,
I try to do it in perfect conditions in a house I live in and a woman I know. This guy's fucking an alien in space and he can come.
yeah, dude.
Yes.
He's got no. I mean, you can get it up when you're up.
It's like the 40 Mile High Club.
Yeah, it's like oh man, you haven't had sex unless it's in space, man. And then,
That's something to tell the boys.
and like anyway, so he comes in her, and then she stands near the bra door thing that's not there, and then she smiles at him, and then she points that way, points to her belly. No, she points to her belly, points up, and then points down.
That's how I told my husband too.
Yeah. And he was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then she just walks out, and he doesn't see her again. And then he
Until the
can't.
gender reveal.
It's a mist. It's a fog.
yeah, he doesn't see,
Yay.
and then he doesn't see her again. He's thank God, don't have to text that bitch.
Oh,
No
man.
child support
No,
for
yeah,
this
yeah, no
guy.
child support. Actually, the perfect male fantasy, really. It's like, it's no responsibilities involved, and her body, her choice. And then, yeah, he basically wins the lotto, and then he gets put down in the thing.
Yeah.
And if there's any,
He had a cigarette.
yeah,
In the field.
yeah, yeah.
Over to you. Thanks for that. Good on you. Thanks for that. Cheers.
yeah, he was just like lying on the front
Same
of
time
this.
next week.
Goes back into his
Yeah,
wife.
so for the rest of the life, he just spends a lot of time in the fields at night, just hoping to see her again. And then, and so that was like
You're
a
whipped,
pretty
mate.
crazy. But the other thing that I think is weird about these abduction things is like a lot of people, they always describe it like at night. Oh, I was in my bed. They came in, they took me into the spaceship. It was like the cynical part of me just wants to be like, yeah, mate, it's a dream. You had a fucking dream. Don't carry on. Had a vivid dream, and now you think you're. Yeah, dude. I had one the other day. I was walking around naked in high school with my teeth falling out. I don't carry on about it. Going, oh, isn't that weird? And but I also think it's maybe a coping mechanism, like this idea that when you're stressed out, you can explain things as an alien abduction.
Right.
Like for example, my ex-girl, it hurt my feelings when my last relationship failed, and because I felt emasculated, and then. But it would be interesting if I had that coping mechanism. Going, that wasn't my girlfriend. Aliens had replaced her.
Yeah.
Looked like her.
Yeah.
I had no proof. I could tell it was an alien, and
Yeah.
she kept asking me to get a job,
Yeah.
and kept saying I
Like
need
a
to move
fucking
out of
alien
the.
would,
She needs
yeah.
to move
And
out
it
of
wasn't
the.
like that initially. That's the thing. Like when you met her, she was keen for it, and the longer the relationship
The
went
more
on,
the aliens took over.
the more,
Yeah.
the alien, she started being like, Shayne, why don't you have any life savings? Why have you been on Centrelink for 15 years?
and she
Why?
kept telling me to move out of the mothership.
Yeah.
It was so weird, you know?
Could it be that the guy went to the pub, hooked up with someone, came back, and his wife, so he had a wife, was like, "What were you doing?" He's, "Oh, aliens."
Alien.
Yeah.
Well, that's like what maybe where the bum stuff comes in. It's like gay dudes, and oh, honey, there's aliens, and she's so you're not gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was aliens, honey.
It's just aliens did it to me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, if you were to make that as your excuse, it would be like it would just be like, if someone, what was it? If someone like was like, yeah, have you been having gay sex? Because I've noticed that your asshole is bigger. The only person who'd notice that would be Shayne, though.
You did notice that
I always
when I arrived.
measure my partner's asshole.
And
It's a trust thing.
like, if you had, and then he was like, oh no, he was like, no, it was an alien. Like, then you'd never be more gay in your wife's eyes. Okay,
You'll never be more gay.
Yeah, because it's such an obvious lie.
Oh, you mean it's like it's more
But-
gay than
But I'm
gay?
hoping it's a panic lie. Like no one's like,
when you
oh,
like over
it's all pressure.
exaggerate, like where you don't think.
Because he's so stressed out about being busted.
Yeah.
He just pulled aliens. Wow.
All right, that joke didn't go as I planned it. But
But,
anyway.
we can edit this.
yeah, and the other thing that's interesting to me is, so like I when I was doing diligent research, watching YouTube videos of alien abductions, there was like an Oprah episode, because you got to fact check stuff before you put it out in the zeitgeist. And then
Any credible source will have a key for a car under one of these chairs.
and then so there's people talking about like alien abductions, and there's always, I was a kid, they came into my room, and it sounded very much like a coping mechanism for being molested as a kid.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, like, how funny if you were actually abducted by aliens, it would be so frustrating because no one would ever believe you. Do you know what I mean? You go into the therapist's thing and you start telling them about the alien abduction, they're going to think that you were molested the whole time.
Or
It does very
you'll
much
get
sound like it.
gaslighted, and then you'll start to believe them that you're crazy, and then all your memories are just so you just get worse and worse.
Yeah, trying to gaslight you into thinking you were molested, but it was actually the aliens that.
Yeah, yeah.
And suddenly you hate
Have
your
we
dad.
talked about the
Yeah,
school,
yeah.
the Melbourne school?
Yeah, the Melbourne school sighting.
So that was all children.
Yeah.
It was also
There was
in
no
the
abduction, but
No.
the story was there was a Melbourne school, a UFO, like 3 UFOs were around, and one was reported to have landed and then go up again and go away. And it was like 160 witnesses. And then the army came out and they were like looking for it and stuff like that. But before we go into that, I wanted to do the role play of the therapy session with Sian, because she's got a
No, I feel like we should record. Yeah, but if you want to do it now.
Look, worst case, we just delete it. Thanks so much for seeing me here at short notice. I really appreciate it. It's been difficult getting this off my chest, but I am.
Shayne, anything you tell me today will be kept confident unless I think you're going to hurt yourself or others, of course. Okay? All confidential.
I'm not going to hurt myself. This is just something that I don't tell many people because.
But there could be other people you want to hurt. After we talk about
Okay,
this, but
so-
you go ahead.
So when I was a kid, I was in bed at night and
That's your safe place.
and I looked at the end of my bed and there's a tall man and it was an
Invaded your
alien.
safe
It was an alien. It was
Yeah, he invaded your safe.
it had big eyes and then
Big eyes.
big eyes. Yeah, it was an alien.
Yeah, alien.
Yeah, it was an alien. Like it
Yeah.
looked like a grey alien.
Grey.
Yeah, grey.
Grey hair. Like your granddad.
No, it was grey head. It was grey head.
Grey head.
Like the whole body was grey. It wasn't just grey hair. They were aliens.
It's a scary memory.
Yeah, it was very scary.
And I think what happened to you was alien.
What happened to me was, I think, by aliens. That's why it was alien.
Yeah.
And they,
How will we remember it, hey?
and then there was 4 of them.
Okay.
There's 4 of them.
That's really scary.
Yeah, and then
4.
for aliens.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
And they took me out.
Cancel my 3 o'clock.
They took me.
It's very serious.
They took me out of the.
Very,
They took me outside. Like I floated through the window.
Get out of your safe space.
Yeah, and then I went onto the ship, the UFO. Like it was a flying saucer.
Or van.
No, it was a flying. No, it was like a dish shaped, not like a van. And
Or a shed. Did your uncle live? Your uncle lived in a shed.
yeah, no, my uncle did live in a shed, but it wasn't a shed. Yeah, my uncle, he lived in Ipswich.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
Go
Anyway,
on,
and so I was in the disc, and then I don't know, they took my clothes off, and
It's
they
not very nice.
they said some stuff about that humans need to limit the production of nuclear weapons, and they said that this was my purpose in life.
And what did you, and your parent? How did your parents react? Did you tell your parents in the morning?
Yeah, they didn't believe me. They just, oh, you had a weird
That's not
dream.
nice.
They said I had a weird dream.
It's not nice when people don't believe us, is it?
No, that's why I don't tell many people about this. When the aliens
Yeah, it's
abducted
hard
me.
to talk about. A lot of people find it very hard to talk about.
Anyway, so that's how weird.
Don't stop now. I'm about to come. I'm about to come. Don't stop. Keep going.
Coming through a breakthrough, as Peter calls it, coming.
Anyway, so that's the whole.
That was great. That someone needs to animate that.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic performance from both of you. Can
Did you know a psychologist used to be called an alienist
Really?
in the 19th century?
Why?
Yeah.
Alien meant something different back then. So it was.
Oh, it's like
What did
Space
alien
Center.
mean back then?
It still meant that, but it also meant like something foreign or unusual. So it was just mental health, unusual, foreign thinking. So that was
Man, that would be.
Yeah, wow.
I reckon way more people would go now if they were still called alienists.
That's great.
yeah, that's what we should bring that back.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
bring
see
back
an
the
alienist.
Yeah, I gotta finally be mature about my mental health. Go see an alienist. Take some responsibility in life. You know what I mean? And yeah, so there was this Melbourne sighting, and as I described, there was a mass sighting, and so yeah, a lot of people think it was UFOs and stuff, and then people were told, like teachers, adults at the time saw it as well as these kids, and they were told that they should shut up about it, and that they were drunk and they didn't see anything. And so one thing is, why did the government censor this stuff? What's going on? Like UFOs, and apparently the army was in the area. But alternative explanation is that it was like a weather balloon to go up to detect like nuclear tests, and that they wanted to keep that secret because of Cold War stuff. And so that's why they're like, you didn't see anything, shut the fuck up.
Okay.
And that maybe these kids, like to a kid, a fucking big balloon is the same as a UFO. And then if they remember it and stuff, and they alter it, eventually it could become more and more dramatic in their mind.
Yeah.
And so back to the before and after the events of our missing pilot, his girlfriend 6 days before he left, he said some stuff about UFOs, and that he was like, if the UFOs tried to abduct me, I would go, but I wouldn't go without you.
Yep.
Which is like romantic in a tobacco bong kind of way.
Yeah.
And you got to keep in mind, this guy's only 20, so he's quite young. And there's conflicting reports as to...
Shayne, you were saying that to all your girlfriends at 20.
I say that to them
That's
now.
how we met.
But I say UAPs. I want to seem like an adult.
Yeah.
And that he gave alternative explanations as to why he was flying this plane to different people, that he was going to go buy some fish, or he had passengers, and none of them seemed to be true. He didn't let the place he was landing know that he was coming, but this could be like maybe some evidence that he was planning something, or it could simply be he had ADHD and just didn't know what he was doing.
Okay, you ready for me to break this down with the science background?
Almost.
Yeah.
And apparently his father said he was a true believer in UFOs and was worried about them being attacked by UFOs. And some people theorized that he was trying to fake a UFO thing and then died accidentally. And we'll get into the theories and stuff, but yeah. But other people also say that a lot of people his age were like into UFOs back then. It was just a thing.
Yeah.
And he wasn't particularly like more into it than anyone else. Please break it down with your science.
Okay, everyone ready for the science? So ready for science. So he did a flight called a night VFR flight. Night VFR is different to flying normally during the day. So when we fly during the day, we can see, which is great. At night, obviously, we're taking our visual reference out. So we have to use things called instruments. So there's all different instruments. And this is 78, I think, so they weren't as good as we have now. We don't have GPS, we don't have glass cockpits. It's all analog instruments. And you need to be trained at how to use those. He apparently did have a night VFR rating, but you use night VFR for emergencies. It's not something you commonly would do. I had night VFR. You do it because you're trapped somewhere and you have to land at night or something.
It's like night vision.
So night VFR, that's night visual flight aerial. So you still don't have the proper instrument rating. You've got a rating where you can use these instruments to land.
So when you say rating, what do you mean?
All right, so a rating's a different kind of license. We got a private license, commercial license.
Right, so he didn't have that kind of license.
He had a night VFR, but he only had 150 flying hours. That's nothing. That's your basic flying. To do the flight he did at night, first of all, it's bizarre. It's like you going, I might go for a drive, but what I'll do is I'll get really wasted first or something. It's dangerous.
So it's known to be quite a dangerous thing.
Yeah, he wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very strange choice to make when he could do it during the day if he's just picking up crawfish or whatever said he was doing. Especially because he only had one engine. So I did night VFR in one engine, and all the Qantas pilots told me I was insane. I did it for budget reasons.
You're much like this guy.
I'm absolutely, yeah, this is why I don't.
Maybe he
out
did
here.
it for budget reasons.
Yeah, I doubt it. But so I could only afford one engine. So I just risked it, and I was like, just fucking die.
See, that's
But,
what I find crazy, that you're
yeah.
risking anything while flying. That's,
Yeah.
Shayne is so risk averse. Like she would never do anything risky.
Yeah,
so
she's
she
she's
can't
the
understand
straight
it all.
one, straighty 180 in this
Yeah,
group out of all of us.
You are crazy.
Yeah. I'm getting lectured by Shayne.
Yeah. All I ever did was have unprotected anal sex with men I don't know for extra money, but like you.
Oh, if I had done that, I wouldn't need the.
Extra
Just
money.
one
Yeah,
engine.
Yeah. See, baby girl, that's why I could afford 2 engines,
Yeah.
not taking that
You
kind
two
of risk.
together, you two together, perfect person.
Yeah, we could. It's
all-
perfect
everything.
pilot, I think.
Yeah.
So go on.
Yeah, he also didn't use the transponder, which is how they could put you on a radar. He just chose to not use it for no reason. That's really weird. That's again, now you're in your car, you're wasted, and you don't want anyone to know where you are as well. So you throw your phone out the window. There's no GPS or anything.
So he didn't use his transponder.
Yeah. So a lot of the information we have is just we don't know it because he didn't have it. It's not recorded anywhere. To go by what he said.
Which is something you would do if you were trying to
Yeah.
fake a, as you were saying,
That's
you're
one
trying to create a
hypothesis.
story.
That's one
Yeah.
hypothesis.
But
So
if someone was trying to create a story, wouldn't you try to make it as hard to debunk as possible?
The theories is that the common theories. So one, that it was a suicide, and it was like the world's nicest suicide in the sense that he didn't want people to know that he was trying to end his life. And we'll talk about the supporting or things that don't support that. He saw his plane in the reflection, and he got confused of reflection of the water. And that was like the light he was seeing, and that he was upside down. That's one theory, that he was just like a shitty pilot. Another theory is that he staged his own disappearance, and that like he had fuel somewhere stored remotely, and then he was going to like then fly off to South America or something and start a new life. One theory is that, it was an accidental like suicide. He was trying to maybe get some UFO clout. Something went horribly wrong. And then the other one is, of course, he was abducted by a UFO. And we'll go across discuss all those things. But what were you saying, Cara?
Yeah, because he wasn't a very good flyer.
No,
So-
he'd failed CPL a few times.
Yeah.
already.
So that's what I want.
He's failing
like,
everything.
Like
and-
how?
yeah.
Like
But
why?
is that
like
uncommon?
it's as,
To fail?
Yeah.
No.
So I'm just saying, like, he's not doing anything like that's. It's not like he's like super abnormal as a bad pilot. He's just
Oh, no.
starting out.
No, So obviously, you'd try if people do your
So
pilot
for
license.
context, you are in the aviation industry. for
Yeah,
you to mention
science background.
you're a pilot. You're a pilot.
Yeah. So Shayne and I. No. So if you're failing, you probably would stop at that point. Not everyone
really?
would. Yeah, there's crazy people who would keep going, but he's failing twice and he's been rejected by the Air Force twice. I don't know his foot, like I wasn't there, so maybe he was failing for a reason. Maybe he's a little bit dyslexic and he's actually an awesome pilot.
it. Yeah, and he was
That's what I
only
used to tell
20,
people,
so
yeah.
it dare say developmentally he would have gone better.
Yeah. Saying that, there's other reasons, but we'll get into it.
But
Keep going with
that's
the- yeah.
crazy to me though. But then I was like, maybe it's just when there's like a bad comedian and they bomb like every single time.
Yeah.
But they continue to do gigs. But putting that's like a pilot. Like you're real, but it's just, and I guess we're gonna die on stage. But it's like, dude, you're gonna actually die.
Yeah,
Like, you're
it's
gonna
that-
actually, like, you're gonna crash a plane.
Yeah.
Like that's what I find crazy.
Yeah,
Like
but maybe
why
it's
would
worth
you
it because you get
fly?
a free beer and a meal sometimes.
Because the float tents are hot.
But like, why? Yeah, are there pilots that like fly even though you're bad at flying? Like, why would that's just I don't get that.
Hopefully the system gets rid of them before this point. He was only in a 182. So 182, like I said, single engine, it's got 4 seats. It's a tiny little plane. It's not he's not flying a big airliner around. So that's what we can all just pay money, all of us. You can't.
To fly.
I could go do that tomorrow. We could go hire a plane.
You could go do that tomorrow. Yes.
Wow.
But I just why? Like, what would be going on in someone's? If you're not very good at flying, why would you risk it?
I suppose it's exactly what you said.
want to.
About the denial. People's denial would be massive. Denial's such a strong. We all saw that in COVID. What a strong emotion, no matter what side you're on with all of that. What a strong emotion denial is. It's intense. Maybe he's got pressure. We don't know. This is like 70s.
But he's just flying privately for his own.
Because
Yeah.
you talked about the denial thing, and it
I don't
made me
get
think
flying for
about
leisure. Hey, it's terrible.
it made me think about the ULP thing again. Because people, not only do they not recognize the ULPs, they actively deny them. You know how people dismiss like UFOs as like swamp gas or weather balloons?
Yep.
It's people do that with their own life priorities. It's, why don't you pay that like $10,000 of parking fines? It's just swamp gas.
Yeah, we try and find. We're all constantly trying to get serotonin and dopamine hits into our brain. That's why people come to
We're
comedy.
endogenous.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
androgynous. No. What's the internal?
Androgynous.
Like your hormones that are internal. What are they called? You're not injecting them into you.
Oh yeah, trying to produce. Yeah.
Anyway, just like internal drug addicts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like trying to secrete.
Yeah.
Secrete.
Oh, hey, that's what I'm going to do next time I host a gig. Oh, guys, we got a great night. You guys are going to secrete all kinds of brain chemicals. This next act is like one of the best secretors I've ever met. Like he's going to fucking secrete and great. That's the name of the conference.
And he also thought that maybe the other pilots were like playing a prank on him. There was also that theory.
That he thought he thought that the other vehicle he described was playing a prank on him based on the way it was moving.
Are pilots bitchy in that? Because I just feel like it's so risky to be bitchy in the fucking sky, bruh.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Can we not like be passive aggressive right now?
It's like when I gave Jake the light last night.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that bit. When the first ever fighter jet, when they were testing it, they didn't tell anyone they had this technology, and the tester pilot put a gorilla suit on, flew above like people in my little 182s, went inverted, and was like, "Hi, I'm in a gorilla suit in this fucking weird plane."
Like the first one.
This is true. Yeah,
in the world.
One of the first. That's how they were testing it. He died eventually because he's a bucko.
Yeah.
What did he die of?
He crashed a plane. Look it up. The guy who gorilla suit testing fighter planes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you were just flying a little propeller plane. That's all you know exists, and the people testing it think it's funny to put a gorilla suit on. And
oh my god!
Yeah, someone's brought a gorilla suit onto the space station.
Is it
maybe that's the alien.
Oh, I did see that. That's
is
very
it a
funny.
bitchy industry?
Where they someone brought a gorilla suit onto the space station, and so just like all of a sudden the gorilla's in the.
Oh.
Yeah,
everyone's floating around as a gorilla, and they'll freak out.
Is the aviation industry like a bitchy industry?
It's the same as
full of humans.
It's
so.
like comedy. How many comedians become famous out of all the ones that try?
More
Hopefully
than pilots.
at least 4.
Not one famous.
Hopefully at least 4 more.
Not one. I can't think of one famous pilot.
Fucking that Amelia Earhart.
The
Sully.
equivalent of becoming a famous comedian.
Captain Sullivan that landed in the Hudson River.
Neil Armstrong.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so only 4.
Cara Robinson.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the one because of the science. So 4% of people who start flying training become an airline pilot.
Pardon me?
4% of people who start flying training become an airline pilot.
And why is that?
Because it's hard.
Oh,
and
thank God.
Expensive. And there's a lot of It's the same with comedians. How many of people become... So then you get competitive. And then you start... Human nature kicks in. The only thing that doesn't add up, like you're suggesting a behavioural the psychology of the pilot's teasing him. Yeah, that could happen with the psychology, but it's just the flying pattern doesn't really...
It's not practical.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Unless it was someone in a fighter jet
like
in a gorilla suit.
I guess it would be the stand-up comedy version of if you were doing a set at a comedy room and I somehow got another comedy room like on wheels with an audience and I went in front of your audience and like was killing with my audience and then Shayne's fucking with me.
If that happens, I'm going to know it was you.
Oh, how's your set going? Yeah, I'm crushing over here. And so anyway, so the first theory is that he wanted to end his own life. So supporting evidence is that he failed his test, like you mentioned. However, the idea that he was planning for his own future seems to go against that. Like was making plans with his girlfriend and he had all this ambition. And then apparently the doctor was interviewing his colleagues and his friends and stuff, eliminated any clear signs that was likely based on his demeanor. So I think it's unlikely he was trying to end his own life.
There is a...
And it's also, I don't know if that's a nice way to end your own, because you leave it ambiguous, like it's hard to get closure.
Yeah.
But if anyone is having issues, call Lifeline or the UFO hotline.
UFO.
But what were you going to say, Cara? So, because pilots do.
I also,
do
as well
that.
as my science and pilot background, I was in the military, so let's write that down. People before they went to Iraq or Afghanistan proposed to their girlfriends or got them pregnant. It was a bit like they want someone behind to mourn for them. Or it's just ticking boxes off before you.
So anyone who's got a boyfriend listening to this, if he proposed to you, be careful. He might go missing real soon.
Look after them.
He's in danger.
Look after him. We all should look after each other. But look after that one in particular.
So either wants to marry you or wants to kill himself.
Yeah, nobody actually wants to marry us. They all just...
Yeah, now I've got that in my head. If a dude ever, I would just be like, you just want to kill yourself.
Yeah, they love the fantasy of the widows.
Just feel, I'm not going to fucking mourn for you, dude. Jesus Christ. How selfish.
I'm going to call an ambulance.
Yeah. I've got a guy trying to marry me here. And
Sign of.
and so the other thing is he saw a plane in the reflection of the water. So this theory is that he's like just a ship pilot.
But wasn't he saying things above him?
Yeah, I think this. Yeah, so this theory seems like a shitty theory because that he was flying upside down and he saw the lights he was describing was the reflection of the lights of his own plane. I think that's pretty implausible because surely you would like notice like the coffee falling from the.
And why is he just
So
flying upside down for no reason?
controlled flight into terrain is the third biggest killer.
So dumb it down for us without the science background.
So that's basically what happens. Okay, so we're humans. We've evolved the basic things we need to survive, which
Some of us.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I have.
Bigot.
Yeah. So what we need, we've got really cool thumbs. We've got slow maturing brains. We stand upright. Other
That's
than
such a science person. with a really cool thumb.
yeah, look at this. What a flex. I can do this.
Actually.
Fuck you,
You know
dog. You
these
can't do
things.
well, not you,
The
dog.
great
but
thing
I
about,
don't
the
know.
great thing
You
about
can't do
complimenting the thumb is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Thumbs up to the thumb.
Thumbs up to as we in the science industry say, thumbs up to the thumb. It's a science joke.
You guys had to be there. But other than that, we're
What do
fairly-
you think of just without thumbs?
Yeah, boo. Grow a thumb. Grow up. Jesus. So other than that, we're pretty weak. Like there's eagles can fly. There are animals that can hear us right now. We can't see them. They can hear us because their hearing's so good.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the sex files.
Everyone's starting to doubt my science. But
It's here a badge. You'll turn that down, Shane.
when we get in a plane, we're not designed to do that. Is fast. That is higher than we're supposed to be. That's not what we're evolved to
It's
survive.
completely
in.
unnatural.
So we're also
No matter how good your thumbs are, you
Yeah.
can't fly with them.
Yeah, no, yeah. You should, yeah, okay. When you're flying is so we're designed to pick up fast motion because we're looking for predators. We can run at a certain speed. We can't pick up little things. So if a plane's starting to tilt, we can't always pick up on it.
But wouldn't you?
I can pick up on everything when I'm in a plane. I'm like, there was a sound.
I'm dying. We're surely you would feel like more G-forces if you're like upside down. Wouldn't you like you have some sort of gravity? Like, why's my hair like? Why is that pen going to the? Oh,
So we
weird.
wouldn't necessarily. I feel I'd know.
This is removing the visual reference, of course, so we can see if we're turning. But once we've removed that, so I had a really good
because
instructor.
of the darkness.
Yeah, a really good instructor who
Isn't that a metaphor for life, Sean? The darkness.
he let me make mistakes. So I was flying with him and I was a bit
He
lost.
let you make mistakes.
And I pulled out my map. And
That's the best way to learn.
Yeah, I'm going like this. I'm going. He let me do it for about 5 minutes, and then he's look up. And I looked up, and we are like that.
Ooh.
And I'm like, holy dooly. And it was a really good learning, but
Oh.
it
And
happens.
so you were on the side and you didn't notice.
Yeah, didn't notice.
And like, why? Didn't the gravity kind of was it some sort of centrifugal
Yes,
force
you're thinking
or
about
whatever?
something else.
So gradual. You can't feel it. Your brain
It's like a
doesn't. Our
boiling
brain
frog.
won't pick up on it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's gracious.
People listening,
This
go home.
worthy of a.
Yeah, sit in a definitely sit in a chair like a spinning chair. Close your eyes. Don't cheat. Put your thumbs up. We got the thumbs. Use them. We got them. And get someone to spin it. And as long as we don't have any other sort of references, put your thumbs
This
down
is what me
when
and
it
Shane
stops.
do all the time. We're just hanging out.
They just spin in chairs.
I spin around the chair, yeah, Shane.
And the irony is we don't know where we are, what we're doing either. So,
So there was a plane crash recently that was CFIT, which is this. The guy flew, as soon as you get in a cloud, statistically, you got 182 seconds to live. And it's,
when you're flying to a cloud.
when you fly into a cloud, if you don't have an instrument rating, which you didn't have. Or at night, if you've gone at night and you've stuffed up.
You have 180 seconds.
180 seconds. Because your brain, what happens as well, if you do pick up on it, now you're confused.
Fuck, we got the right person on this podcast, man. Holy shit.
Imagine I just told you now you're upside down and your brain's trying to figure it out. You don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Cara, what have you done to me? I'm going to be like driving on the way home. Am I upside down? Everything could lie.
Second thing that could have happened as well is when we fly at 10,000 feet.
I knew I hate flying into clouds. I knew that turbulent.
Yeah.
You always feel like you're about to die. In that.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. I still duck when I go fly into a cloud. And because your brain thinks it's something coming towards
Oh,
you.
really? Wow.
Yeah, and I hope no one sees me. The other pilots are like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, nothing.
Oh, can you quickly tell that anecdote about the thing you said on the thing?
Oh, yeah, this is irrelevant, but...
It's relevant, trust me.
So I was on a 330 doing a PA to the passengers, And I just wasn't thinking. I was really tired at night. And at the end, I said, I love you, as I hung up the phone. And then they're like, okay, she's tired. But I picked it up again straight away and went, I don't actually love you. And everyone's like, Cara, you just made that
That's
so much worse.
So much worse, man. Oh, my goodness.
Except for you, 12D.
Oh, they would have been shitting themselves. They're like, this is the person fucking flying
I
us.
wasn't flying. I was a flight attendant, so they could just be like, she's an idiot.
Oh,
Some-
yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
could go with the narrative. I fit in with the she's a
yeah,
bimbo.
wow.
I'd be like, yeah, I'm a bimbo. That'll do. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But anyway,
Okay.
go on.
So once you fly above 10,000 feet, you need oxygen. Hypoxia is a thing. There's not less air as we get higher. It's at a different pressure that our lungs, because we're, like I said, we're just weak. We're pretty crap. We can only go at a certain
You've been
altitude.
emphasising that a lot looking at me, Cara.
Yeah, just want to let everyone know you're weak.
Oh, come on now. Oh, thank you. I'm a big boy.
You know. So we need oxygen. If we don't have it, our brain starts to go funny. But we don't know. It's actually, I've had it. It's fun. It's like
fun.
it's super fun.
What's your experience?
So I wouldn't have had it that badly, but you just get euphoric and you're talking crap. And if you recorded it later and watched it, you'd be. It's
Have
just
I
like
had
doing
hypoxia
LSD.
half my life?
Yeah, that's what he could have done. That.
Like
He could
having
have-
a nang, sky nang.
And if you've got a medical condition or you're a smoker,
Yeah, have you been to my club, mate? Ooh.
it can happen a lot lower. And we also don't know what height he was at because he could have been lying because we don't have a transponder. So let's say he did
So,
fly a
so
bit
there's
too
little
high.
masks that come down. They actually make you high.
No, they're the oxygen. They'll stop you getting high.
Okay.
So, yeah, don't take it if you want to get high. Leave the mask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm ever crashing,
Yeah.
I don't.
You'll be like, I'm not
You
taking
will.
the mask. I want to get as fucked up as possible.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You can look up on YouTube recordings of people with hypoxia and have a pilot who's used to being very straighty 180, black and white, who just starts talking all this crap. And
Wow. And the brain's just
Yeah.
not firing.
And could be flying while they're.
yeah, and you don't know. You got no way. It's like a hypothermia where you start to get too cold and think it's great and you don't notice.
Oh, my goodness.
That could have happened to him. If you climb really slow, like I said, with turning, you don't pick up on it.
Oh.
So he could have accidentally put the engine a little bit too high, climbed up, not picked up on it. Hypoxia, and then his brain's gone to his previous
Like
memories
UFO
of UFOs.
stuff. Oh.
And then he might have also gotten.
And so he's like maybe just intoxicated through this. His brain's
Yeah.
not working. He's calling the air traffic thing. And he's, there's a UFO.
Yeah.
What's going on? And
Yeah, so we might it may not necessarily be that he's crazy. He could just have had something unfortunate like that happen.
God.
Carbon monoxide was a problem
Poor
back
guy.
then too.
Why? That
We have now covered. It's still a problem, but we have a thing that'll go off. But I don't think they had that back then. I'd have to check. People were
what?
still-
Just like it gets the exhausts get
Yeah.
into the plane.
Yeah,
Is that common?
it used to be. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's a problem. You know, that affects your brain as well. That stuff could have happened, gets inverted. Yeah, and there's green lights when you're flying at night because you use the port and starboard lights.
So the green lights
Yeah,
could
that
have
you
just
have a
been
green
on
light.
his plane.
Yeah,
and
we
it's
don't
like-
have green lights.
Why didn't they just
in the
interview
day.
Cara about what happened to
Yeah,
this guy?
I know. Well,
Well,
that's not going to sell newspapers.
Yeah,
you know
she's
what I
got.
mean?
I think that girl that did that YouTube video has 726,000 followers, and I've got like 8.
And you got the reverse in flight hours as well.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay, so you've given some supporting evidence that, and so you don't think he was staging his own disappearance? That seems pretty improbable.
I think that sounds quite unlikely.
Professor?
I'd need more information. I checked the weather as well. There is some historical weather data. Again, you're not going to know looking at everything on the internet what is accurate. It doesn't quite, like it's bad weather. You would never do night VFR in that weather. He shouldn't have taken off. But people make mistakes and take off sometimes when they
Oh
should.
my
Oopsies.
God.
Yeah. Whoops. Shouldn't. But
Poor dude, I feel sorry for him.
yeah, it looks like there was overcast cloud, and no moon. You need a moon at night VFR. I'll tell you one other thing about night VFR, which there's 2 of them. One of them, very senior instructor, told me that he was flying towards a town. It was only Kingaroy, so it's not even that far away. It turned out to be Venus. You can get mixed up. And I did the same thing just as the sun was setting, just after the floods.
Can you guys not make mistakes?
Yeah, I thought I was going towards the towns, and then when I got closer, I'm like, these are big puddles of water that are reflecting the sunlight. They're not towns at all with lights on. It's really easy. I hope that
You
there's no
get
pilots
confused.
laughing at me about that. But yeah,
Wow.
it's the planets when they come up can be shining and glittery, and it can happen easily.
Oh my goodness. I almost feel like an idiot to bring up all this other shit. But what do you think about the theory he was abducted by an answered? Like some people say, things have gone missing in this area. There was like some other like missing people, like yachts have disappeared.
Yeah, what's the go with like the Bermuda Triangle and the Bass Triangle and that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
what's the go with the triangle car?
So that's a very heavy traffic area and a bad weather area put together.
Oh.
And we're talking about stories. So this is really funny from, I think it was around when that first happened, they went missing. They had bad technology and they were inexperienced pilots. But what they used to do back then, which we don't do now, let's say there's bad weather. You're flying a plane, missing.
Yep.
And I'm like, my mate Peter's missing. And I go into the bad weather.
Peter's not mate.
You're like, don't find me.
Yeah, I just would like to clarify, we're not friends.
I don't pick him up and he's like, who picks me up? Oh, it's Cara. Oh.
He's not even a good. You want to be able to.
It's funny you say that because some of the searching parties for things that have gone missing in this bash have disappeared themselves.
Yeah, because
So
you're going to
perhaps
the
this-
exact same conditions. I'm like, there's a thunderstorm.
It's like when comedians like, oh, yeah, they bombed because it was like a shit gig.
Yeah.
And then you go on after them trying to save the gig, but then you bomb.
Yeah, because
Wow.
exactly the same. We're so similar, pilots and comedians.
Both have thumbs. Both have limited understanding of what's going on in the
Thumbs
environment.
are really cool.
But yeah, and if you want, Dr. Carl does a thing on the Bermuda Triangle. Have a listen.
Yeah, great.
I prefer Dr. Cara.
Yeah.
One thing about the
Dr.
Bermuda
Carl,
Triangle, this is nothing to do with this, but a lot of eels go there. Do you know we don't know how eels reproduce?
What?
But a lot of eels go to the Bermuda Triangle, come back with, and they've reproduced somehow.
What do
You
they-
can look that up.
So
as
what do
well.
you mean they don't know how they reproduce?
Nobody knows how eels
yeah.
reproduce.
Eels.
What you mean? What you don't just put them in like a fucking?
That's out
In a
of
tank?
everything that's been said, that has absolutely fucking rolled me.
And it's been a thing like even
We don't know how
Aristotle-
eels reproduce.
Yeah.
Why are we wasting our fucking
What
time
is
with
it?
this
How do you-
podcast?
Yeah.
Why are we looking up this stupid shit when we can talk? That is insane. Is that not insane to you?
That's wild. But surely they can cut open an
But
eel and look at
an
their.
eel looks like a big dick. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
Eel
maybe what
phallus.
happens with the eel instead of a dick coming out, it's like a little like body comes out.
Fucking crazy.
But surely you
I'm
can
gonna
do
look
an
that up
aut-
immediately when I finish
So
this.
the only
Hang on.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're
You
going
can
too
do an
far. Yeah.
autopsy on an eel. So can't they just look at their fucking eel pussy?
I've never done an eel autopsy, but I don't know. You'd have to Google it a bit more. But there was all these theories that
I will.
Yeah, Aristotle thought it was lightning that made eels reproduce. It was all this weird
Aristotle
stuff.
thought that. What's he playing around with eels for?
He's got theories on this crash as well. No.
Oh yeah. Well, that guy was in it. Like he was like a busy man. Aristotle.
but they do reproduce. So is that the only place eels seem to reproduce? Is the Bass Strait?
So what happens
this
if
is
you
the
put them in a
Bermuda.
tank and
Is
you
there
put some
baby?
candles on and you, like romantic music? Can't they just fuck in a tank?
Yeah, I don't know.
And
For
just-
whatever reason, they've never been able to watch it. No one's witnessed eel sex, and no one's witnessed.
They're
yeah.
just shy.
Yeah, maybe.
That is wild.
Traditionalists.
So they,
I just don't like talking about that
baby
sort of
eels.
stuff.
So they go up streams. We do know that they go up out of the water, out of the and into streams.
I'm going to
but
win
that's-
myself a Nobel Prize.
But could they just? But eel babies, so they wouldn't know what. But do they know? So they know how they reproduce, and eels do get pregnant.
I don't know. Maybe they lay eggs. Maybe there's a lot of different ways babies happen. Maybe it's the way fish do it. I'm going too deep into this.
My goodness. Okay, it seems like the hypoxia thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
The
so.
Virgin Mary. Was
Maybe I'm just
eel.
so easily convinced or whatever. So yeah, probably wasn't a UFO. Some of his like family, and because of the way it was described, you can understand why people thought maybe it was a UFO. Still could have been a UFO.
I think if it was, let's say it is a UFO,
Okay.
and the way he was talking about it all prior, maybe it was prearranged with the UFOs. That's why it's all weird like that. That was like I'm trying to think of every possibility.
Oh. Does anyone have any closing thoughts on the meaning of all this?
I'm still thinking about the eel thing, man. That's fucking unbelievable. I'd love
Tune
to
in
meet
next
back
week when we
here.
talk about eels.
God.
And
I'm sad that this guy has disappeared because when we do discover, he's not going to ever
he's going to know about the eels.
He might. That's why they took him. He had the eel
yeah,
knowledge.
the eels
This is
knew.
big eel bringing us down.
Big eel. Fuck,
Big
big
eel.
eel.
Achilles eel.
Wow.
Wow.
Very interesting.
I feel like less confident about aliens and more curious about eels. Holy moly. Closing thoughts. What did you think of all this, Peter?
I thought it was great. I think your presence here was fucking fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I think
I will rescue
that-
you if you.
yeah,
I'm
this
just
would have been
Oh.
the dumbest conversation with us three talking about this. Having you break that down was super interesting.
Yeah, that was great.
Did you organise Cara knowing that she would have this knowledge, or is this just worked out?
I know she was like,
But did you do it
I
in
know
It was
she
relation?
my idea,
When I
mate.
met
I
everyone,
reminded
I told
you
them
that
it
there
was
were
my
women
aspect.
pilots.
I know she had a science background.
That's what I say when I enter
Remarkable.
rooms. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to get Cara on one of these podcasts anyway.
But was it because we were doing a plane-based story, or is that just worked out?
Yeah, that was my idea.
Fantastic
thanks,
work.
Sharon. Yeah.
Just a reminder.
Shayne
thumbs
forgot
up
that
here.
women can be pilots. Until he YouTubed most women pilots.
Yeah.
Most facts about women.
Women
Most true
pilot that's
facts about
most
women.
likely to be real.
True facts about women. And you're like, oh, they can.
I've learned a lot today.
Shayne doesn't know how women reproduce.
Wasn't it?
Don't worry about fucking eels,
Don't
mate.
they got the
aliens.
Bermuda Triangle women to reproduce?
What do you think? What do you two think about all
What do you
this?
think, Sean?
Are you happy? Are you-
I don't know, but Shayne, like, you haven't seen Shayne's crazy eyes when he's trying to convince you of
Okay.
something.
I've seen his crazy eyes, so the eyelids blink from
They
the
are
sides.
real, Sean.
Yeah.
I still don't know if we don't know how eels reproduce. I don't know if UFOs are real. I don't know if Damien Power's real. I got no answers, but I really enjoyed contributing.
This was great. Thanks very much for having me, guys.
I think they're all linked.
Yeah, I think we've actually worked it out what happened to Frederick
Well,
Nietzsche.
I definitely feel a lot more leaning towards that, but that could just be my primitive brain and my lack of perceptions and my shitty thumbs. But yeah, I feel like I'm having hypoxia right now in this room. And yeah, the truth is out there, guys.
Yeah, hypoxia. It's like you didn't know that your life was upside down.
Whoa, it's getting, yeah. She's a thinker.
Yeah, this is a sad story about a guy, and
With hypoxia.
I hope
We could do that as a story about a
I
guy
hope-
whose
I hope-
life got flipped upside down.
I hope that any aspiring pilots maybe take precautions from Frederick's example and blah blah blah.
Beautiful stuff.
But he definitely sounds like a guy I can relate to with his failed tests and stuff, and his risk-taking behaviour. So could have man of my own heart. And
And one more question that I think the audience would want to know. Have you ever nearly crashed, Cara,
Oh,
in the
that's
plane?
yeah.
Like, has any near-death experience? Have you had to hide anything as, like, when you were working as an air
have you
hostess?
had to like
or-
not tell anyone
do
in
the
a
air
public
hostesses
forum?
lie to us about how safe we are? That kind of thing.
Airliners are they're safe. They're very safe. They're safer than cars.
That's what they,
much
that's what
much
they always
safer
say.
than
Yeah, yeah.
cars.
But you're
I
so
feel
far
like you're
away
being
from
paid
the
to say that by
danger.
Qantas.
Yeah.
Think about it from a logical perspective. Like the cars, you're next to cars. You're next to shit, and you're going at it. Like you're not really next to much at all when you're in the sky.
And we're in the most regulated country, and one of the most regulated countries with the most regulated industry with airlines. So it's so regulated.
But have
Everything
you
we
ever
do
nearly
is-
crashed? Because I remember one of the first times I met you, you told me that you flew pretty dangerous aircraft.
Yes. Let's go back to the fact I was poor, and with my single engine and my non-prostitution, so I was poor. So I flew when I was learning. I did fly I was the same way we're trying to get gigs all the time.
Oh,
We
so
can't
you were
get
doing
any-
like the low
Yeah.
quality gigs.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I'm flying planes at a 60
trying to
years
get-
Do you
old.
fly
airtime.
fitsies? Do you fly fitsies like that?
You're flying Johnny Winter planes.
We'll bleep those in. Don't want dramas.
Yeah, so the 60-year-old planes, stuff's broken, things aren't working. So yeah, there was lots of incidences with near crashes, but I got through it. Rely on some skill and some luck, and
Some skill and some luck.
a wing and a prayer.
Sounds like my comedy career, man.
Wow.
Thank you so much, everyone. I hope this was enjoyable. And wow.
That was great. That was great. Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, everyone, and God bless.
Join us next week for our eel.
And I'll just quickly do you guys don't need to be here for this, but we have a special thing on our Patreon, which is Sian Smyth's new comedy special. If you follow us on Patreon, you'll get exclusive access to Sian's Hour of Comedy, which is hilarious and amazing. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.